Hi guys, welcome back to... No, we're going to keep the cameras running, we're not allowed to edit. That's our rule, no edit.
The Results Show.
The Results Show indeed. We are joined by a slightly bemused Jacqueline, who has, despite her best judgment, agreed to join us once again to tell us a little bit how she is implementing NLP, hypnosis and timeline therapy within her life, having learned it from David many years ago.
Yes, 2000, so like 25 years ago.
5 years.
And you know, watch the previous episode if you didn't watch that, because it will give you the background. But Jacqueline, just to put in a synopsis, was in corporate, and then she came and did practitioner, master practitioner. Then decided corporate wasn't for her, set up her own business, and then came and did trainers training. Which was as a result of her setting up the Athena Network, which is a business network specifically for women in business. And I identified that by doing modeling. I think this is an important thing. What Jacqueline did, which is something we teach on Master Practitioner, is she went and modeled not only franchisors, but franchisees, and discovered that one of the biggest complaints for franchisees was the lack of quality training, which is what led her to then to do NLP trainers training. So that when she then set up the Athena Network, she could offer quality training to her franchisees. And Jacqueline, you have to remind me of the year, but the Athena Net was already set up, and they had their inaugural, I pronounce it right, conference, which was at the Millennium Hotel Gloucester Place in London, and asked me to be one of the speakers at that conference. There's already 200 people in the network, so Jacqueline was already massively successful at this point in time, and it's only gone from strength to strength. So Jacqueline, what was your experience of the conference, and also what's happened since then with the Athena Network?
So it was called inaugural because I didn't know what else to call it at the time. So it was a very long name. Now we call our conference Inspire. There you go, just one word, and that's it. So it does what it says on the tin. We're celebrating this year with another one. I loved that conference, I really did. I've just got so very many fond memories of it. Photos that remind me of the event as well. Notwithstanding the one of you with your jacket with the most amazing print on the inside. Was it leopard? It was like orange and black.
It's a Versace. I've still got it, actually.
I think I've seen that one.
Yeah, I wear it with high heels, but only on a Sunday.
Melanie, that's because you're Melanie on a yeah, that's it, your Melanie jacket.
Well, I remember because it was Joe King was on that, was doing burlesque. Yeah. And everybody was doing burlesque. We got those purple feather boas, and she did a little bit of her alter ego, Betty Swallocks.
Don't Google that, boys and girls. You're not going to like what you find. And
I thought, okay, I now know why I wore this jacket and how I'm going to open my presentation. In actual fact, I've still got the video. So what I'll do is I'll put it up onto YouTube so that people can watch the entire thing.
We'll pop a link to you in the description down below underneath this video.
From the inaugural Athena Network conference, whatever it may be. But yeah, I've got very, very fond memories of that event. I always remember going on stage and the sound guy, I think had fallen asleep or something, or he'd left his desk. So we all had to have a piece of music to come on stage. And I'd gone on stage, but he didn't switch the music off. So
it turned into karaoke sessions.
Marie Taylor, who was also one of your students.
yes,
And she was amazing at that event. And she just held us all together. She really set such a powerful intention of making sure everything worked. And she was like the proverbial swan. If you saw her, she was elegance personified. You know, she was just like in state. Underneath, it was like, where is the music? Because we, you know, you go to the trouble of asking everybody for their music, and then when it's not, I don't even know. He was provided by the hotel, by the way, not one of our people. But,
oh really? Okay.
yeah.
In-house AV.
Yeah, he wasn't one of our people that we would use now, but so Marie was having to chase around after him. But again, that's another example of the training. So, you know, when we look at the layers and nuances, when I think about that event, it wasn't just me. There were other people who'd been involved. There was you know, you're so well known in our industry, well, certainly in my world anyway. And you're the person I would refer people to if they ever asked about NLP training. And there were other people there who were students who held the room. That's what I really loved about it. But Marie was one of them, and she was outstanding. She kept us all sane. But the really interesting thing about that event for me, I had quite literally, only just completed my trainer's training.
Yeah, you had. Like,
how I even pulled that event together,
weeks.
I don't know. Yeah, I didn't then have the team that I do now, you know, because I was still learning to delegate more, I think, then. And it was, you know, I'm trying to do everything myself, but when I look back at it, I think everything just worked amazingly well.
It did.
It was like it just all came together. There were things that didn't. There was clunkiness, but then we look back and think, actually, that's what made it quite funny as well. There were, you know, great memories. And I do believe that was as a direct result of me doing the trainer's training. And it's not to say that the prac and the master practitioner hadn't already prepared me, but I'd come fresh off the block. I was, you know, I think I was still in state from trainer's training, and nothing was too much trouble. Everything just felt easy and flowed. And that is as a direct result of doing that training, because of the behind the curtain things that we learned there.
Yeah, I mean, because, like, you know, on your trainer's training, we got Steve McDermott was there, you know, with all the improv and stand-up stuff, you know, which is basically, well, I mean, what a Steve, and Steve's going to be one of our guests in a future results show, is, you know, he prays for something to go wrong. Whereas most people go, I hope nothing goes wrong.
Yeah.
He actually hopes something will go wrong, because he's got a belief that he can utilize anything.
Right.
Yeah. Yep. And that's something we teach on Trainer's Training, right, Jacqueline? So, like, you know, there are certain things you can predict. There are certain things you can't predict. And, you know, the things you can predict, somebody's mobile phone going off, the sound guy disappearing. Who's also, his name was David, I remember, because there were 4 men in the room and 3 of them were called David.
That's right.
Because there was Dave Kibbe who was on your trainer's training.
Yeah, that's true.
Sally was there, Maria was there. There was another David as well. So, like, there were 4 men in the room and 75% of them were called David, which I thought, I can use this.
Yes.
So, I mean, and, you know, Jacqueline opened the conference and then was almost like was the MC, right, for the entire thing. And, you know, it's the first one you'd done. I mean, even if it was the 100th one you've done, there are still things that are going to happen that you can't predict. And you handled them masterfully. And it was like, you know, like you say about Marie Taylor, also one of my master pracs. You know, you get up there and inside you're going, excuse my French here, inside you're going, oh fuck. On the outside you're going, we had this planned.
Yes.
This is what we're going to do about it.
I suppose with a lot of times as well, it's because you know that something is going to go wrong. And so when it does, it's almost like the sword of Damocles. You know, it's hovering over your head, but when it then actually happens, you're going, right, okay, now we know what form the F-up fairy is going to take, and now we can deal with it rather than having it
which is
hovering over you.
State control, because, you know, with an event like that, 200 women, Millennium, Gloucester Place, whatever, you know something's going to go wrong. Mm-hmm. You just don't know what it is or when it's going to happen.
Yeah. True. It's true. And it does come back to state is everything. You're absolutely right. I remember there was one point I thought, I am absolutely convinced that I look like the proverbial rabbit in the headlights, but I knew that I was. You know, it was really weird. It was a strange out-of-body experience because of the training. But it was quite comical. I thought, well, I'm just going to utilise everything that happens. And if I have to turn this into a comedy of errors, then that's what it's going to be. Because this is our first one. I plan to have another one. So let's just make sure that, you know, I use all the skills that I've learned as well. And that did make such a huge difference. I think it was for me, it was state control and utilisation. They were probably the two key things at that conference because, as I say, I was just fresh out of the training. And, you know, in hindsight, it was a crazy thing to have hosted right after being... How long is trainers training? I can't remember now.
Trainers training the trainers training itself is 14 days.
Right.
Then you've got a 4-day evaluation.
Oh, that's true.
So it's 18 days. We do give you a day off here and there to do your homework and to study for the test and put your presentations together. So it's the best part of 3 weeks.
Yeah. I remember one of the things from my trainers training, without giving too much away, but it was like one of the things that I still use. If I don't know, or I think I don't know how to do something, or I need a reboot, I plug myself in. I plug myself back into the Matrix and I get the download. So lost on anybody who's not watched the films, the Matrix films, but that was one of my utilizations. It was kind of like, I will never have to stand here and not have words come out of my mouth because I'll always be plugged in. So that was mine. That worked.
I love, I don't know if you've seen it, Jacqueline, but Keanu Reeves gave a quote about the Matrix trilogy at that point in time. I know now it's like 4. He said the big mistake that most people make is they think the Matrix was a movie, but in actual fact, it was a documentary.
Yes, yeah. I would 100% agree with that. There is so much to learn. Yeah, so much to learn.
I think it also explains, you know, with the exception, you know, you've obviously got things like the amazing bullet time and the photography and stuff that they use, which kind of came out.
Yeah.
But I do think that it is actually something where everybody kind of knows that the world that they're living in isn't quite real, and also that there is tremendous potential behind them. You know, kind of within them, as it were. Because I love the bit, again, at the end of the first movie, where you've got, you know, Agent Smith is literally a blur of arms and legs, and he's just like doing that, you know, with like absolutely no effort whatsoever. And that's the sort of thing you go, oh, I'd love to be able to do that. And it's like, these are the kind of the tools that are designed to help you get there. Doesn't mean you're not going to put any effort in, but the effort is as well geared as possible to get you the results that you want, hence the result show, with the least amount of kind of like wasted effort.
Yeah, like amplified.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if anyone listens to, hope you do, listen to the previous episode, then I was definitely that Neo asleep. You know, I was like working in my little office, making my phone calls, doing my thing, and it wasn't until I did NLP that I actually woke up to it.
So Jacqueline, where has the Athena Network gone since that first inaugural conference?
Yeah, that was I think that was 2010. So we'd just been operating for, we launched in October 2005, so barely 4 years. And we'd already been through some sticky things. So, 2008, there was a little bit of a financial crash, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I just seemed to notice that at the time, yes. Yeah.
Yeah, it was, I tell you what, my resilience and my resourcefulness, I have never needed it as much. And I do think that entrepreneurship is a journey of resilience, let's say, that we go through. But one of the key tools that I used was anchoring myself into a state of resourcefulness and calm during that period of time, 2008, which is how we were able to navigate those challenges in 2008. In actual fact, up until that, 2008 was our most profitable year in business.
Wow.
And I believe that was because of the way that I'd reframed it, that I was resourceful, and that transfers, that level of leadership and influence actually transfers when you've got so very many women. So then we went to 2010, which is when we had the conference. And what we've been doing is continually selling franchises year on year. But that doesn't come without its challenges as well. We have ladies who, we're talking about running a business, so ladies come, ladies go, leadership challenges, things that happen. And then fast forward to 2020, I was operating a business that depended on venues being open, people meeting face to face.
Yep.
All of a sudden, that rug was going to be pulled away. And I will tell you, and this is where I think intuition, and that was something else that I learned with David, really trusting what lands. And it was at the beginning of March when there was lots of conversation from the government about what they were going to do. And I had a conversation with my son, who's a director in the business as well. And I said, we're going online, we're doing this overnight. I'm not going to wait for the government to tell us what to do. I really think this is what we need to do. Now, fortunately, I've been very comfortable on Zoom because I've been using it for just running meetings, team meetings, things like that. All I needed to do was pull together a guide. This is how our meetings are going to run. So literally overnight, and we were the first network to do it, we went online. And at first, that was very exciting for everybody because they weren't allowed to go out. But then when my gut told me, we're staying here, that was not a popular decision. So again, had to rely on the skills that I had, not go into the little pity party with myself and, nobody likes me now because I've made this decision. It was like, is this true? And it absolutely was. So my mindset, my emotional state was absolutely everything at that time. And I honestly believe that's why we've stayed ahead.
Right.
We've stayed stable. We've taken on new franchisees. We've taken on new members. We also lost members because being online isn't for everyone. But I wouldn't have had, I just wouldn't have had the skill set. Well, I wouldn't have had Athena, going back to the previous conversation we had, I wouldn't have had Athena without having the training with Performance Partnership with David.
So, that now, for me, sounds like it opens up the opportunity for you to take the Athena Network international rather than just geographically located in the UK. Is that something that you're looking at doing?
We are launched in Singapore, but that is more circumstantial. One of my operations director was moving over there with her partner. She was pregnant at the time and she said, I guess this is it. And I said, I don't think so. Let's keep hold of your Athena email address. Like it was a tangible thing, It was like, keep your Athena email address. And she went over there and after a year, I knew she would get bored and she said, we need to bring Athena to Singapore because the networking that she was doing over there just wasn't as robust as she was experiencing with us for lots of different reasons. What do you love most? What do you love least? There were ways that it could be improved. So we are in Singapore and this year is the year where we're looking at where else can we go?
Right.
What else would we do? Yeah, because it makes it easier. We've got regional directors who are franchisees.
Yep.
One of them's living in Croatia. Another one hops backwards and forwards to Palma. Another one is, and will be now, spending most of her time in the Isle of Wight. And they are thousands of miles away from where their meetings are actually located.
Right.
The town name, if you like. Yeah.
Brilliant. So, Jacqueline, if anybody's been watching these 2 episodes and wants to find out more about what Jacqueline's doing and find out more about the Athena Network and how you might be able to get involved, whether that's just being a member or whether it's being a franchisee somewhere else in the world. Jacqueline, how do people find you?
The best way to find me is on the Athena website, which is athenanetwork.com. You can always hook up on LinkedIn, Instagram, but the website really is the best one.
Lovely. We'll pop a link to the website in the description below this video, or indeed in the description around the podcast if you guys happen to be listening to Dulcet Tones rather than watching.
So, Jacqueline, this has been absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much for joining us, because the thing that really Pete and I have been working on with the Results Show is that since you did your NLP training, 25 years ago, there seemed to have been a shift where it had become quite etheric.
Yeah.
Kind of like a bunch of nice ideas, rather than people going out there and doing tangible things. I think that
it almost seems to be like a paper-based qualification exercise. It's something that you put on your wall, as opposed to use in anger.
And I think a lot of that was due to the fact that the people who are training, this is generalizations, a lot of the people training it these days haven't actually done anything with it themselves except train.
Yes.
So, which has led, I think, NLP to get not a particularly great reputation in recent years. We wanted to turn that around with the Results Show, and also with having our guests who are absolute living examples of what you can do with NLP, hypnosis, timeline therapy, and Huna. And Jacqueline, you've been absolutely fantastic in sharing, what you have tangibly done with it. And, congratulations on that. That's, you've got to give you high fives on that, really. And, even, I always say this, and you've alluded to it, even with all the skills you've got, all the skills that we've got, it's not always easy. And, quite rightly, you said that state is the key thing. It gives you the resilience. It gives you the flexibility to go, okay, this isn't working. What am I going to do next?
I think the other thing as well, which, because it struck me whilst I was listening to you talking about the event, is that state also empowers you, gives you the ability to be a leader. It's the whole, if you can keep your head all about you're losing theirs,
Absolutely.
then you're quite possibly going to be the person that people follow.
Yep.
Because people gravitate to, folks who can stay calm, who look like they know what they're doing, who will stick to an idea, and they become magnetic.
Look like they know what they're doing.
Well, projection is perception, as we say.
And from my perspective, what I really appreciated about being invited on two podcasts with you is the opportunity to actually look in the rearview mirror, because I could have taken it all for granted and just I'm really involved as a human being. I'm older, life skills and things like that, but actually sitting down and looking at my timeline, going back on my timeline and seeing how influenced it has all been by the skills and the resources that I've learned through the training that I've done with you.
Brilliant.
And it just warmed the cockles of my heart, just doing that, I think I'd like to go through a phase of incompetence again, if you like, with different tools that maybe I haven't used or I don't think I'm using as frequently. So to go through and refresh and things like that, which is why I'm a lifelong learner with you, David. And just recently refreshed hypnotherapy, just because I thought it'd be a cool thing to do.
Yeah. No, if you want to be thrown into the incompetence arena, we can do that for you.
Really?
We've got buckets of it out the back.
Yeah. I already know that. That's a killer. No? I don't know everything. But thank you both.
Me neither.
I really enjoyed being on your podcast.
It's been an absolute pleasure to have you here.
Thank you.
Okay, folks. So we are coming to the end of this particular podcast, but join us next time when we will have another guest who will be sharing their life lessons in NLP, timeline therapy, and hypnosis. So from all of us here, a big thanks to Jacqueline. And of course, if you have any questions or comments, please feel to get in touch with us at podcast@theresultshow.com. And we will see you next time.